Hello, good afternoon. Well, we've got our presentation. So, my name is Viktor Tsykunov. I'm from Microsoft Ukraine. And today I'm going to present you, well, actually that's going to be a presentation about one of Microsoft product, which I believe very much resonate with everything related to startups, innovations. And it's going to be about Microsoft Azure, which is our cloud platform. So I'm going to talk about what is it, how to use it, and why it's so important for startups and for anything related to internet. Okay, so first of all, the very obvious question, why cloud and what is cloud? I think everybody has got an answer here, at least in this audience. I talked today with many startups on a startup valley, and I should say that all of them are using any kind of internet technologies, and not all of them, but the majority of them are considering cloud solutions. So why? Well, first of all, because it's very fast to deploy. Doesn't matter how complex is your project or your platform or your solution. It can be easily scaled. So if today you have 5 users, but tomorrow you're going to have like 5,000 users or 1,000,000 users, you can do it with the cloud, real cloud platforms. And definitely economics. So I know some companies in Ukraine, for example, they're smart enough doing optimization. So for example, during daytime, when they need to serve a lot of customers, they bring up many servers. And during night time, when they don't need anything, they remove them, so they pay really less, like actually 2 times less for their infrastructure. So it's about economics. But I believe all of you know this, so we're not going to spend time here. So, Azure. First of all, this is Microsoft service, which is globally located. We've got data centers in United States, in Europe, in Asia. And we have many CDN nodes to deliver your content to your customers. So we are really global. We are really big. So many enterprises are using Azure for deploying their apps or storing their business's data. There are a lot of transactions, databases, etc. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time here. Just wanted to show that in order to build such an infrastructure, we invested a lot into building data centers, developing processes and procedures required to handle such a massive IT system. In order to do it, we had to make automatization of this, and we are very successful. We are growing very fast, and that's really good. We could not build a massive data center without support of the industry. So we've got a lot of partners contributing and working with us to deliver this service to you. So definitely when you are looking for any cloud solution, maybe you plan to do it only on top of Microsoft technologies, but definitely you may need to use Azure. That's why we've got a lot of partners and their solutions to be available. The platform has been developed and it's still developing very fast. So only like this year we launched a lot of new technologies and we supported a lot of new technologies. Like it's new virtual machines with SSD disks, which are very kind of a cool and popular technology now. It's also site recovery solutions. It's a lot of improvements in our data services, like machine learning, like HD Insight or Hadoop, etc., etc. And we don't have big releases, especially in Azure anymore. So we do not launch like Azure 3.0, Azure 4, etc. We keep adding new and new technologies into our platform every day. So if you deploy your solution on top of Azure, you may realize that each day you have some new and new features which arrive. Good. So why you should consider using our cloud technologies versus competition? Well, definitely there are a lot of competition on the market, which is really great. How do we differentiate? Well, yeah, we work with big enterprises, so it's really enterprise-ready solution. Definitely, it's hyperscale. Well, I have an interesting story with one partner I worked with. They had a solution for image recognition. So they created a service which allowed their customers to recognize some patterns in the images. And they were selling it as API for the customers. It was a small startup, couple of developers. And one day, they received a call from a customer from the United States asking their solution to be part of a big marketing campaign. They calculated approximate number of resources they need, and it appeared to be something about 10,000 servers. Definitely, it's absolutely impossible to deploy 10,000 servers for one-day event, because they had to do it for one-day event. The solution was deployed on Azure. They come to us asking whether we can fit such, whether we can scale in such amount. We said yes. Finally, they could really bring up their solution from 3 servers to 10,000 for 5 hours, run that solution, and after the campaign was over, shrink them back to like 3 or 5 servers. The most interesting and challenging, the most interesting part was that the all-up invoice they got after at the end of the month was about $4,000 US. So we can really scale a lot, and it's not expensive because you can scale up and scale down. But what's really important that how we differentiate from competition, it's our hybrid model. So a lot of customers today are still using on-premise systems. So if you choose to develop your solution on top of and using Microsoft technology and using Microsoft Cloud, which is Azure, you can really deploy it on public cloud, which is Azure. You can deploy it in the customer data center, or you can deploy it on third-party hosting built on top of Microsoft technology, which you probably cannot do with any other solution. So where we are unique as Microsoft is that you can really propose your customers what type of deployment they really need. We support open source. That's very important. So whenever somebody is saying like Microsoft, people say, okay, that's about .NET, that's about Visual Studio, that's about Windows. If you say Azure as our cloud platform, that's not true anymore. So we massively support all industry standards, all industry platforms which are available in open source. As an example, it's Linux operation system. Definitely we support it on virtual machines. We support all devices which are currently available on the market. We support a lot of languages which are Python, Node, PHP. We support Java, etc. So if your development is based on open source, if you never use Windows, you still use you can use Azure without any problem. And we invest a lot in order to make sure that open source stack works really good on top of our cloud system. Very important. It's about standards and compliance. Whenever you do a project, definitely you can build and deploy it in in your local data center on a small hosting provider. But if you'd like to attract a lot of investments, you need to make sure that your data center, your data, or your cloud provider really complies with all kinds of regulations. So we spend a lot of resources and energy in order to pass all standardization and compliance check for well-known standards, like PCI DSS, that is storing credit cards data, or for example HIPAA, which is storing the standard for storing healthcare data in the United States. So there are much more standards we comply with. And again, building your solution on top of Azure would mean that your solution could be compliant with these standards also. Okay, that's all about just overview of kind of marketing. What's inside? What's inside Azure? By the way, who is using cloud platforms here? Is it Azure or some other? Azure and some other. Good. So, what's inside? This is a snapshot of all services which are available in Azure. First of all, it starts with the data layer. And here you can definitely use a databases, like relational databases like Microsoft SQL, which you can get as a service. And you can use non-SQL storages. Very interesting, like, for example, HD Inside, which is an implementation of Apache Hadoop for managing big data. You can use some interesting NoSQL databases, like table storage, like another, like Redis, etc. So NoSQL data storages in order to store your data and develop a really scalable applications. Then you have number of solutions or building blocks on top of it, which are, first of all, virtual machines, something you would use probably in order to build your infrastructure as a service solution. You have very interesting concept of cloud services. That's a base for platform as a service solutions. You can use more simple stuff. For example, websites, which are really scalable platform for hosting like high load, load balancing, distributed websites. And some other interesting things, for example, mobile services, a very easy concept in order to build a backend for mobile application. When you need just to store some data in the cloud and do some deliver some notifications to your application. Or for example, you have media services in order to do online streaming, DRM, and like online, on-demand, DRM, etc., all stuff related to video. On top of it, you have an integration layer, so you can use service bus, you can use CDN, you can manage your routing and your traffic to your deployment. You have also, on the access control level, you've got Active Directory and very interesting concept of multi-factor authentication, which you can take and implement as a part of your application without necessity to reinvent and rewrite it again. Well, and definitely we support a lot of consumer-side devices, both Microsoft and non-Microsoft. Well, I'm not gonna, because I don't have a lot of time, I'm not gonna drill down and make a demo of how the portal looks like, but the idea is very simple. You go to azure.com, you sign up for a free trial, and you get access to a management portal. In a management portal of the system, you have all the services listed here. So which you can choose and deploy within seconds. So you can bring up a virtual machine, for example, both for Windows or Linux. You can get a database. You can get, for example, Hadoop cluster up and ready in some seconds, etc. So in order to start working with the platform, you do not need any local infrastructure at all. Just a computer, PC connected to the internet, so you can start trying. Let me quickly walk you through the kind of key elements, which I a little bit touched earlier. So, virtual machines. Probably that's one of the most used, definitely, building block in Azure. And again, we support Windows and we support Linux. You can deploy anything from very small virtual machine, which is using one core, up to very large virtual machines using 8 or more cores. Definitely, you can use different disks, like from SSD disks, as I mentioned, in order to make your application faster, to any disks which of any scale you can attach to the virtual machine. And definitely, you have a lot of tools in order to automate everything. For example, to bring up virtual machines automatically, to manage settings of these virtual machines, to combine them into clusters, to put the load balancer on top of those virtual machines. And definitely you have tools to route traffic to the published ports of your machines. Well, definitely if you deploy virtual machine or virtual machines in Azure, we as a provider, we guarantee it's up and running, and we have SLAs behind it, and you are responsible for everything which is happening inside your machine. Operation system, applications, etc. You do not need to support, you don't need to configure many of well-known solutions. There are a lot of pre-packaged services available right now. Actually, we have it in two places. The first one called Microsoft Azure Certified. Those are images which were pre-packaged, checked, and verified by Microsoft. So you can pick them from the library, and you can be sure that they are like pre-packaged correctly and optimized for Azure. And you have another source of community-held images called VM Depot, where you've got, like, I think more than 5,000 images with a lot of open source technologies pre-packaged there. So you can also pick them and deploy in Azure within like a couple of minutes. Let me share with you right now some, again, new and cool technologies which appeared in Azure recently. First of all, something we are really proud of called site recovery, which is really important if you'd like to build a disaster recovery solution. We support right now two ways of hybrid disaster recovery solutions. The first one, when you have two data centers, and when you need to do failover. In order to do failover, you need some agent to sit on top and analyze what's happening with each of your data centers. So you can make Azure be this communication channel, and it works. So if this site fails, it automatically is going to bring up this site up. And if you don't have any second site, right, you can use Azure to replicate data here, and when this site is down, Azure Replica is gonna take over the lead of your requests. So I'm highlighting this because that's which really differentiate us, because we really can build the hybrid solutions. Definitely, you can use Azure just as a cloud provider, but in the combination with the Microsoft System Center and Windows Server, which are deployed on-premise, you can build this kind of very sophisticated solutions. SQL. Well, I talked a little bit about SQL, and actually we have two options to run Microsoft SQL Server. The first solution, you can deploy pre-packaged virtual machine with SQL Server inside. You're gonna be charged the price which includes the license for Windows Server and license for SQL. And it's gonna be a virtual machine. Or you can pick and use SQL database as a service, so you don't need to tune and manage it. By default, that SQL is gonna run in a shared environment. So it's gonna be like 3 servers having the replica of your data, but there are gonna be other customers using the same servers. So we try to balance the farm in the way to get appropriate performance. If you'd like to, you can remove all other databases from your servers, so you will have a dedicated server farm for your solution. Well, definitely it's going to be more expensive. What's great, you can switch between these two approaches very easily. Big data. So, as I told earlier, we support Apache Hadoop. So Apache Hadoop, which we called actually Azure HD Insight in our implementation, this is a way how to keep huge amount of data, non-structured data, in a storage, and the way to process some requests on top of this data. Great here. So usually it's pretty complex deployment. What's great here, you can store the data, you can bring up a server farm to make operations on top of this data, make your calculations, and remove this farm. And definitely, again, as an any cloud solution, you pay just for the time this farm is used. And very recently, we introduced something which is called machine learning. That's a set of algorithms which are available for you to build some machine learning tasks, like to predict future, for example, to do classifications, etc. So you create the model on top of the data you have. You can publish this model as a web service, and you can incorporate it into your application. For example, you can use it to do next logical purchase in your e-commerce website, or you can do it in order to predict price, etc. So right now you have it ready to use as a part of the platform. Websites. So websites, again, that's very easy approach to host your web application, but it can scale from a shared hosting mode to a farm of servers, and you can apply a logic when the scale can happen. For example, you can say that you need to keep appropriate level of CPU usage for your farm, or you can scale it based on other KPIs you may specify. So if you need to run a web application, probably that's the easiest and the fastest way to deploy it. Well, Visual Studio Online, that's another solution we have in Azure. With Visual Studio Online, you can manage your code. Actually, this is what we call TFS Online, which we used to call it TFS Online. So now it is available as part of Azure. So you can use it to track your code, do testing, deploy your solutions, etc. And now it's again available as a service. Authentication. This is called Azure Active Directory, and it's very kind of used service. If you need to implement authentication within your application, you can use it, and very often customers are using just this service. So how it works? That's a service available in Azure, which can connect to third-party authentication tools. So you can put like Google authentication, Yahoo authentication, Facebook, etc. And you can build your authentication system on top of it. And of course, you can connect to on-premise, to Active Directory, which is probably the most used on-premise tools for managing resources and providing authentication. So using this tool, you can build your application with the ability to connect to any other authentication sources. Media, again, all tasks related to video streaming, encoding, and protection are available here as a service. Mobile services. So this is something, if you need to create a backend for your mobile app, and if you do not want to bring up a lot of servers and deploy a lot of logic behind, you can use it. So what can it do? You can have storage, you can have authentication, some simple logic you write in JavaScript. You can have push notifications delivered to your app, and the schedule of events happening with your application. As a result, you can do this with actually the majority of available native platforms like Windows, Android, iOS, and a lot of currently popular frameworks for creating mobile apps. So, just to ramp up, there are scenarios how you can start, try, use it. First of all, it's test and development. Yeah, so if you do any projects, you can test it in the cloud. If you have something on-premise or something run on other cloud solutions as a virtual machines, you can bring them to Azure, again, very easily by uploading the image of your system. You can store a lot of data. You can do big data analysis, which could be a separate task for your application. And definitely, which I mentioned, if you have any web application, Azure could be a very good source for hosting it there. So, why it's important for startups? Very easy. It's actually free for all startups. Who is aware about BSpark program? Okay, just some of you. So BSpark program, it's a program which was designed by Microsoft to support startups. It's very easy. We give almost all our software and services like Azure for free to all startups for 3 years. And as a part of this program, you get 5 subscriptions, which you can use, for example, to host. Each of them can host like 2 virtual machines. You can do a lot of testing. You can store a lot of data there. It's free. We don't ask anything back. In order to do it, you just need to go to BSpark site and register. And if you need more as a startup, there is another program, which is called BSpark Plus. BSpark Plus was designed for startups who consume a lot of resources. Actually, if you need a lot of resources, you can come to us, and we can consider giving you this program, which is a $60,000 per year, or $5,000 per month of Azure resources you can get for free. Again, we do not ask anything back, except your promise to use it, deploy your solution, and run it there. That was all which I wanted to explain you today. If you'd like to try it, so it's Azure Microsoft.com or just Azure.com. And the BSpark program, you can go to Microsoft.com/BSpark and register there, or come to our stand and we can help you with registration and additional information. So thank you very much, and if you have any questions, thank you.